Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. It is time to do our weekly prep video. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Happy Sunday. It is August the 24th. We have a lot to unpack here, so let's not waste any time here. Let's just go ahead and jump in. Of course, we want to take a brief moment and look at what happened in the prior week, starting out with the economic data calendar. It was a little bit interesting. We had the FOMC minutes, which gave us a little bit more insight. But yeah, nothing too crazy there. We did get the flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI. That was a pretty interesting report in the fact that it gave us one of the strongest manufacturing and services report of the year, and in fact in several months, and it looks pretty upfront, nice expansion. But when you get into the nitty gritty of it, it wasn't that fantastic. It continues to signal that inflationary pressures are continuing to mount, and some of those tariffs are starting to creep into some of the inflation data, and that those tariffs are also creeping into the consumers. So it is consistent with a 2.5% growth rate, but the inflation signals are rising sharply. Backlogs are surging. We also saw that some of these companies are beefing up their inventories just to prepare for, the potential whatever may happen off of all these tariffs, and potential price issues that may come about, or any supply chain issues that may also arise from the tariffs. So yeah, a lot of companies are trying to front run. There's a lot of backlogs, inventories, but the pressures are mounting. In fact, the readings itself suggest that the Fed should continue to be pretty cautious and should consider hiking rates rather than lowering rates. Of course, we did also get Chairman Powell at the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium from Wyoming on Friday, and he pretty much sent the market on a huge rally. We saw the Dow Jones break out into all-time highs. We saw the Russell 2000 break over a key level, and yeah, pretty much erased all of the woes that was pretty much given for that week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we pretty much didn't go anywhere. I mean, you can see here on this 1 hour chart, we were dipping, where there was a lot of weakness, especially amongst big tech. And finally, when we got that Jerome Powell speech, we just blasted off. Like I said, Dow Jones hit all-time highs, and Powell did strike a cautious tone. He did warn that tariffs are pushing prices higher, which confirming all the data that we have seen. But he did pretty much give the signal that the Fed is possibly ready to pivot and start to lower rates slowly, and then approach the market to a classical, more flexible approach, and still go for that 2% target inflation. So looking here at the CME futures, it's pretty clear that the market is pricing in a rate cut, a 25 basis rate cut for September. Again, that's not until about another 24 days. If we look at the probabilities, we can see that we're also creeping in a little bit of another decrease in the basis points for December. Something to keep an eye on. So possibly 2 rate cuts. The probabilities here have been a little aggressive, and then they kind of balance themselves out. But they tend to be a little bit aggressive nonetheless. But yeah, most part, we are expecting a rate cut in September. Again, that Fed meeting isn't until later in September. We still get another CPI report. We get more jobs data before then. So, yeah, there's still plenty of data out there. But as it sits right now, the market is anticipating that rate cut. Next, we can look at this week's economic data. It's a little bit more quieter. We do get consumer confidence on Tuesday. We also get our preliminary GDP readings on Thursday. That'll be a big one. We also have our pending home sales. And then on Friday, we close the week with the PCE readings, which is a very crucial inflation reading for the market and the economy. It is the preferred inflation gauge for the Fed as well. So we definitely want to be very mindful of that Friday print. Moving on to the earnings calendar. Yeah, if you look closely here on Wednesday, after the bell, NVDA reports their earnings. This is the last hoorah for big tech here. Of course, there's some interesting names within this earnings. You got Best Buy, Dell, Dollar General, Ulta. Yeah, overall general, but NVIDIA is definitely going to be number one priority for the earnings. So pay attention to Wednesday. We'll see what happens if NVIDIA can rally the semiconductors, if they can continue to outperform expectations like they've been doing nonstop. And we'll finally get some clarification as what they're doing with the whole China and CHIPS Act situation, and the Trump administration finally letting loose some policies to where NVIDIA can start doing business in China, but NVIDIA does have to pay 15% of those China sales to the U.S. government. So we'll get some more clarification from that also. Moving on now to the charts. Like I said, SPY, the next spot here for the SPY is to break over 646. Once we get above that, yeah, I'm looking for a price move towards 650, 655, and then 660. We did practically fill this gap around that 632 mark. If weakness does creep back in the market, I do anticipate this hourly demand down here at about 628 to 626 to hold. So that's if, we get any kind of market weakness. But for the most part, everything's looking pretty good. All cylinders are pretty much firing. If we look here on the daily, we can see that, yeah, we had a little bit of a dip and then we ripped on Friday. We'll see if we can get some follow through on the momentum. For me, though, it is all about the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones finally breaking out into all-time highs. This looks fantastic. This is something that we want to see as far as rotation and healthy moves within the market. You can see here my targets, initial targets. These are just, preliminary targets that I have for the Dow. Looking for a move towards 465 and 470 initially. When we look at the small caps, we can see that we do have this nice breakout over 230. Very powerful stuff here from the IWM. Follow through move would take us to 244. 245 would definitely be fantastic, and that would bring the small caps into all-time highs. And we haven't seen these levels since, the small cap craze back during the COVID days. So yeah, we'll see if she can finally break out and push. I'm going to bring my grid up here real quick so you can see, what exactly I'm looking at as far as the individual sectors and the main indices. As we can see here, the SPY and the Dow, especially the Dow and the IWM, those are all pretty much bullish aligned. The Qs, they're a little bit weak when we compare it to the S&Ps and the Dow and the IWM. So let's take a quick look at the Qs. Yeah, the Qs haven't quite pushed as far as the S&Ps. We still need to hit above 583.32. If big tech weakness persist, say we have like a bad earnings report from NVIDIA and it just tanks everything, I would anticipate a move pushing back through 555, and then what we would want to see is we want to see 541 hold. That would be a full retest of the prior all-time high. Just something to be mindful of. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but 541 is very important to hold. But if we do break out above 583, yeah, 600 could definitely be in play at that point. So the Qs, they just primarily lack some of the structure and some of the momentum compared to the Dow Jones and the IWM. That's why most of my focus this week is going to be primarily on some of these other sectors. But if big tech does catch a bid, there's definitely some names that I'm going to be paying attention to, and we'll get into those right now. Moving on to the individual sectors here, we can pretty much use our eyes here. What looks good, what doesn't look good. Let me move me real quick so you can kind of see that. All right, so when we're looking at this grid, we're looking for bullish alignment, we're looking for hesitation, or we're looking for, bearish alignment. There's a lot of green here, which is good. When I'm looking at, what sectors that I want to focus on, I'm looking for max bull, I'm looking for bullish alignment. And the first things that stand out, just going down, XLB looks fantastic. XLC doesn't quite have the bullish alignment, but it is definitely an honorable mention. Energy, yeah, I'm staying away from energy. It's just kind of whack for me. Financials, this is a sector that I am definitely interested in. Bullish alignment, max bull almost on the daily, so that looks good. And then we have XLY, consumer discretionary. There's some interesting names here. So my focus is going to be on the XLB, the financials, and the XLY, and with honorable mentions within the XLU, the XLC, industrials, and I want to say semiconductors just because we do have earnings from NVIDIA, but that is definitely a big question mark. So most likely going to avoid semiconductors until we move away from the NVIDIA earnings. So with that being said, let's jump into some charts here, starting with, of course, the XLB names, starting off with Newmont. Look at this thing breaking out over the 70 level. Next move, I would be looking for a push towards 75. This was our prior all-time high breakout move, and then we kind of crashed back below it. So 75 is definitely a big resistance level for me. We did get that nice little close above 70. So Newmont is on watch. DuPont, you have this nice push into the 78 resistance. If we can get above 78, I would be looking for a move towards about this 83 mark. It's kind of a slower mover, kind of moves quietly under the radar, but definitely a good stock and a good company to be mindful of. Next up is Nucor, NUE, needs to break out above 151 and push towards 158. Also have APD. Look at this move, kind of looks pretty similar to DuPont. Breaking out over 299 would be ideal. Let me see here. My tablet decided to go off. There we go. APD, yep. 299 would be a nice push. If we can get a breakout towards 320, looks pretty good to me. It kind of reminds me of AbbVie. Look at AbbVie. We took this trade last week or 2 weeks ago, and we hit our target last week, and absolutely crushed this move. So it kind of reminds me of AbbVie. So APD and what was the other one? DD. They both have that look to it. So I'm definitely very interested in that, just because we had such good success with AbbVie. And then you have LIN, looking for a push over 487.50. See if we can't get a move to that 500 mark. LIN, it doesn't have very liquid options, so definitely a shares kind of play for me. So LIN looks fantastic. Now, when it comes to financials, the XLF breaking out into all-time highs. There are a lot of good looking charts within the XLF, so it really was kind of hard to narrow this down. So if you want, you could just buy the breadbasket here and go long financials. You can buy shares within the XLF, or you can buy some longer dated options, or however you want to do you as far as this goes. But XLF looks very bullish. There's a lot of juicy charts. I want to share some of my favorites here. MasterCard breaking out into all-time highs. Yeah, hitting the 600 mark. Next move would put you to about the 610. There you go. You need 595 to continue to hold. Ideally, you want to also see 582 to hold if it does give you a dip. But yeah, 610 doesn't seem like out of the question. We also have Bank of America. Look at this one. Nice little breakout move over 49. You do have, I got to zoom way out here, 50. Once you get over 50, it does open up the door for 55. Remember, Bank of America is a little bit more of a slower mover when you compare it to like MasterCard, Goldman, and all that, JP Morgan. So you definitely want, especially options, you want some time. Safest route is, of course, just do shares. The next on the list is MS. I'm already in MS. We had a little bit of a scare last week where it pushed back below 142. However, it did not close under that mark, so I stayed in it. And of course, we practically were rewarded for that patience and for following that rule. We did get a nice bump on Friday. I'm still looking for a push towards 151 and 154.5 to 155 for MS. You also have PNC. This name looks pretty darn good. Needs to, keep going. Broke over 200. The next big level here is going to be about 216. We could line up another level here at about 206.40. Slower mover, kind of rides under the radar, but as you can see, nice volume, above average volume past few days, riding that train. If we can draw this still, and look, that gives us that same look here. Yeah, looks good to me. PNC. We also have Truist Financial. It needs to get above 46. Once we get above 46, oh man, I mean, we can probably take it to 48. Slower mover, but looking good. Again, we can still do this we can do this all day. Look at there. Same little look to it. We also have Travelers. Travelers is at all-time highs, I do believe. Let's go to a weekly. Yeah, we're at all-time highs. Big candle there on the weekly. Earnings aren't until way later, so we don't have to deal with that. Just needs to get that daily close over 277.65. Once you get that, it's pretty much clear blue skies, which is great. Let's see. That's probably going to be it for that. Let me just see here. Key Bank. Yeah, look at Key Bank. Key Bank here trying to break out over 19. Once you get over that daily close, that gives you to 20. Nice little ticker there below the $20 zone. Let's see. You also got State Street. I mean, look at State Street. My goodness. Breaking out into, what is this, fresh all-time highs also? Yep. Fresh all-time highs here on State Street. This looks fantastic. 115. Yeah, let's see if you can get a push to 120. We can just measure that real quick. Yeah, 120 looks good for State Street. Not much to complain about there. Moving on to the consumer discretionary names. Now, we got to talk about it. Tesla. It's not the cleanest chart, but we all know that when Tesla wants to move, she can definitely move. So this one would definitely be a momentum play for me this week. Had that nice rally on Friday with the rest of the market, closing back above the 338 level. That again opens the door towards 355. So my next initial target for Tesla is 355, and then the next target is going to be 367. Again, not the greatest setup that we've seen, but momentum does play a factor. This could be a nice little day trade. It could be a nice little short-term swing, as long as it holds over 338, and you could argue as long as it holds this this trend line that we've drawn from December all the way down. So Tesla looks fantastic, looks pretty interesting, but my focus for the XLY in general, Home Depot needs to push over 417 for a move towards 428. We also have Expedia looking to break out over 217. Once you break out over 217, longer term, probably looking at 250s. Shorter term, I would be targeting around 230. But Expedia, again, nice little setup here. Just zooming out, I mean, this looks pretty good to me. Like, good Lord, this is your weekly look, rounded bottom situation. Not much to complain about. Just needs to break out and close over 217.72. Make sure it closes over there with good volume. If you get this close over the level and then it breaks down, yeah, that could be a little bit of a sign of a fake out. So you got to be a little bit careful with those moves. But if you got a nice breakout with great volume, yeah, looks good to me. All right, moving on to Hasbro. It's good as long as you hold 79. You're looking for a move continuation over 82. That would put you at 84 and a quarter. That could possibly send you to 86 and 92, maybe 105, but you know, probably not my favorite here as far as everything goes within the XLY. We do have booking.com needs to break out over 58.40. That'll open up the door for 6,000. Next, we have RCL, Royal Caribbean. Nice little push over 342. All-time high sits at 356. A little bit of a gap to fill. Definitely like the looks of that one. And then we also have Hilton. Hilton needs to break over 279.30 for a push towards 285. Nice. You do have support down here, right here. Sorry, let me draw some of these levels here. You do have support down at 257. So once we do get this breakout on Hilton, I am looking for a push. Yeah, look at that, 300. 300 would be your magnet there. All right. Then we get into our regular scans that I'm going to show you. SE pushing into not all-time highs, I don't think. Yeah, no. This one's got a lot of recovery work to do off of the COVID. This one was a COVID darling, but it does have some wiggle room here to push. Next level of resistance is practically going to be around 207. So you did get this push over 180. Yeah, 200 to 207 is going to be your magnet here, or your next level resistance. We do have BE breaking out into all-time highs here also. Yeah, look at this. I mean, all these pretty much have max bull readings. Just want to mention that. Yeah, breaking out over 45. See if you can get a push towards 50. That looks great. We also have CRH. Another max bull looking for a push over 114. Is that going to be all-time high? Yeah, that's going to be all-time highs also. Yeah, you kind of get the drill here. I'm just giving you the names here. 120 is going to be your magnet there on CRH, your target. Unity, this one's definitely on probably my top 10 for the week. You had this nice broadening formation, big candle here. A lot of options flow last week into Unity. If you can get this, I mean, you had this nice break over 39. If we can continue to rally, the next target is going to be 44. I'm really liking this setup for Unity. So let's see if we can get that push, and we're going to keep eyes on it for the rest of the week for sure. Iron, I'm not going to speak out too much about Iron. It's a great chart. The reason why I'm not going to push too much on it is because if you're in the Discord, Johnny Pools has been like banging the table on this one like for weeks now, so it shouldn't be anything new to you. But it is max bull across the board. As long as it holds 19, I like it. Your next target is pretty much going to be 25 here on Iron, so looks great for shares. I haven't looked at the options chain, but 25 does seem to be a pretty juicy target for this one. Then we have AEM. This is a gold miner trying to break out into all-time highs as well. Over 138. Yeah, 145 would probably be your target here. Let's just do a measured move from here to here, really. Yeah, 145 looks reasonable to me. And then we got WGS breaking out into all-time highs as well. As long as you hold 114, you look good to me. And we can also just pull some targets here. 155, 154 and a half to 178. I mean, that looks great. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Google. I do not want to forget Google because this is also within my top 5 watch for the week. Needs to break out over 207. Yeah, and then we're pretty much clear to go. 210 would probably be my initial target here. Like I said, this is just a short-term target, followed by pretty much 220. If we wanted to play the whole rounded bottom issue, then I am looking for your longer term target would be 247 to 270. So if this rounded bottom does continue to work out longer term, yeah, we're looking at some big juicy targets here. It looks fantastic. Google looks phenomenal here. So just need to get that push. Nice volume on Friday. Needs to see the daily close. We did push briefly over into all-time highs. We just didn't get that daily close. So that's what I'm looking for on Google, is that daily close. But all right, I know that is a lot to unpack. We did go over a lot of charts there. Tesla's a good momentum play. Google looks really good. AEM looks good. Iron, SE. I mean, we covered a lot. Nucor, APD, Lin, PNC, LMS. There's other financial names. Citi. Yeah, I mean, Citi looks great also. Bank of America. I mean, you name it. A lot of financial names look great. So, yeah, take these names if you want. Here, you can pause the video, take a screenshot of this so you know which sectors are looking bullish, which ones to avoid, which ones to kind of keep an eye on, etc. But yeah, there's some really good setups. IWM had a fantastic move over 230. We're looking for 245. Dow Jones and the DIA ETF look fantastic. NVDA earnings on Wednesday after the bell. Can't stress that enough, especially if you are a major player within big tech or semiconductors. You definitely want to pay attention to NVIDIA. NVIDIA can move the entire market pretty much. So, yeah, there we go. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. Happy Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a lot. Have a good one. Trade smart. Be good. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.